Well, you guys got my monthly reports. We had 23 calls last month. Nice slow month for us. That's all I got. Unless there's any questions or comments.
You said you were gonna get a hold of, what's his name, about the truck. What do
He
you?
hasn't got me a complete date.
Okay. Okay.
He said it would be done this month for sure. But
Maybe you did tell me that paint was done and then.
yeah,
Okay. I apologize.
you were a little off of it Sunday.
That was. Yeah. All right, we won't go there. All right, nothing else? Anything for Dave? Scott, police department.
Well, he's in Michigan.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did. In the audience.
Do I need to make a Scott voice?
Let's see, you got me. So the first thing is, so we got, well, these two newish old cars. One of them we just had to get the ball joints changed because it was all over the road. So there goes Hudson's maintenance for whatever that they were paying for that. So with those two ready to go now, we want to keep the 13 so that Peggy and Heather have something to drive if they have to run to the bank or the store or something. All they would have to do is get the plate changed to a municipal plate, and then we'll finish getting everything stripped out of there and get police taken off the side so that they have something to drive, which would be nice, so they don't have to drive their own cars around.
That way if we have meetings or
No,
anything like.
you're fine, we talked about that earlier, I'm fine with that.
Yep. Second thing is also another gift from Peggy. With the daycare gone, he wanted to bring up if we're still wanting, or if it's still a thought to move them down to the old daycare place, because that's a bigger area for them, and then Scott wants to expand his office over into what would be Peggy's. So we both ended up with a bigger area if there's no more daycare.
We're kind of in hold right now.
I think my thought is let's ride this a couple months and see whether we're gonna be able to fill, and then I hate to lose filling the rest of the building. I would like to see us keep that for the town. I definitely agree this building is way too big for us to be short on space, especially no more than what we're getting for rent.
Right.
Aside, but let's see what materializes. This is my thought. See what materializes the next 90 days or something, and then we'll see if we can't make sure that we have a good plan. But I definitely think we need to steal some space.
Well, it's our building, it's not stealing anything.
Well, I know, but I use it very loosely. But I definitely agree we need to expand our footprint.
Okay. And then the third thing is, I think, Micah, it's on your copy of the stats. You looked up Wex fuel cards, because I think you brought them up years ago, and I don't know. But he said bring up Wex about possibly getting fuel cards, and they could just be in every town vehicle. So if we go somewhere and need gas, we can just stop then. We don't have to worry about paying for it and trying to get reimbursed later, that sort of stuff. I think what prompted it was when I gave Peggy a fuel receipt from 2 or 3 weeks ago from Terre Haute. He was like, oh yeah, I need to think about that.
Any fees and stuff associated with this, of course.
I'm wondering, can we pay fees and all that stuff on billing? I mean, that's something we need to check into if we do it.
If we do it for,
I know the county has fuel
Right.
cards and
Yeah,
stuff like
most everybody else
Yeah.
does except for us.
I'll check into that and get back with you next meeting.
Or maybe just have one fuel card. For
What's
when
the
they leave.
frequency that we would use? Like, it's low, right? The frequency of use.
Right. Unless we can, and I don't know what we're paying Johnson right now. If a lot, if the fuel at the pump's cheaper than what we're paying Johnson's, then more than,
Right.
potentially.
Is that the
potentially
case,
every time.
Peggy?
I would have to check
Okay.
the invoice. I do know from what we paid this month.
You're gonna get cheaper off of Johnson than
Yeah.
what you will off of
Off of a
Off
pump.
Yeah,
gas
'cause we get a
station.
bulk rate.
Okay. Because what I thought, rather than a fleet card, is just my brain spinning is just to have a town, or
One.
a corporate card versus you.
Right, cause I know they do have, Peggy does have a credit card, you know, if we got a.
Right, so if there was a way to get it even through the bank, to have a corporate card that was maybe less or minimal fees.
Right.
And then you guys would still have that access of flexibility,
Somebody's gotta
maybe
go
not
somewhere.
something that's,
Right.
this is geared towards a very large,
We printed it off.
okay, no, that's fine. Let's look into
Right.
our options and see if we can find a low or no fee option.
Yeah.
I would think that Brittany would be able to help us out.
2,500 is what we spent last month.
But per gallon, I guess is what I was trying to,
That I would have to check on the
Yeah.
invoice.
that would be the comparison, right?
Yeah.
The
Yep.
per gallon.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to it, I just think we do our homework first.
Right.
Well, if we're gonna do that, then I might as well check into, getting it to where we have a credit card machine or something to where they can pay either online or in our office. Might as well just do both at the same time.
The credit card that you have, is that through Garrett? Okay. So,
You just gotta find out how much they're gonna charge per transaction.
I would agree. But I think it's a good option, I just think we do our homework first.
Alright, I'll get it, okay, both.
That's all we got.
Anything else, Bob?
No, I don't have anything else.
Moving on to buildings and parks.
And the park's been busy keeping it cleaned up, Will we?
Okay.
Buildings, wife started taking their equipment out that daycare gave them. And they got a PO for the pavilion we talked about last month.
Just try to repair the small pavilion. 3,800.
Did we talk about this?
Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
we talked about it, but we didn't have a quote.
Okay,
We decided to go ahead and do it. I make a motion, we go ahead, 3,800 for the, PO, for the repair of the pavilion.
I'll second that. Anything else?
Looked at the 550
Yeah,
today.
yeah, I think, Bob, that truck, I think is well worth fixing. That bed, it's gonna take some money, but I think I think we let, we have, I know repair money,
If you can give me until next month, that way I can.
yeah, it doesn't have to be done this month, but,
I know
it needs to
where
be done
stands.
before winter. It needs to be done before winter, before we put spreader back in it. You put spreader in that one?
No.
No,
Just, okay. But anyway, before plow season, it will probably be done.
pick up weeds with it.
Okay.
Okay, my question is can you kinda give me a ballpark of how much it might be, just a ballpark?
They estimate around 2 for the work on the bed, then we have to get painted.
Okay, so, what, $4,000?
Well, I'm thinking somewhere around there.
Okay. I will get back with
I think
you.
it would be less than,
I have to get prices.
I'm just seeing just a ballpark so that way I can look.
I would think some of the repairs will probably be, based off what they get into, rather than
Right.
probably a hard quote.
I just need to know something.
Yeah, keep working on that, Dave, and we'll get that done before winter. Anything else?
Nope.
On buildings, can we, I don't know if they're gonna do it or not, but can we get the Montessori signs off the
Yeah,
building?
we talked about that today, Micah. We got, Holmes coming in to do some work for us. It'd be a lot easier with a lift.
Okay,
Just
yeah, I would agree.
screwing those holes patch.
Okay.
I'll talk to him and see. if we can
Okay.
get it. I mean, I just rather not try to get there with a ladder and
No.
take those things down and stuff.
Nope, I just like to get them off the building.
Right.
So,
So, when's he supposed to come in for water?
I don't know, I gotta call him.
You'll have to have a slip for that, so it'd be.
Okay. Anything else, Bob?
Nope.
Street department.
Okay, Canopy Drive's pretty well completed, we gotta get signs put back up out there, but that's about it. We're still planning on, that's what I talked to them, starting Angle Drive in July. The engineering for 2025-2 is kinda placed on hold because the state's withholding the CCG funding for round 2, so we thought they might release it in October.
Yeah, we've heard they may open up applications in the fall, but no, nothing confirmed yet.
Okay.
Got the, motor for the main lift generator ordered. Lester is gonna try to get us on the schedule, and I haven't heard anything back from him, so I'll reach out and see. I know they're waiting for like 4 or 5 good days of weather before they do it, and we haven't had that, so I'll see if I can get a firm date from him. Been working with Casey, Don, and Buzz on getting some stuff around for SRF funding. We had a couple conference calls this month, and we had our item inspection at the sewer plant, and got a violation letter, basically because we still don't have any EQ tanks or anything done at the plant, and then got gigged on our maintenance books, 'cause she's always a sticker on maintenance, so I got most of that corrected. I got log books and stuff in there. And then in zoning, we had one ILP for a deck, and then me and Roger met with JICI on that project 15 commercial development behind Casey, and got the silver drawings for that. So they're planning on maybe start to move dirt in July. So you see some activity out there. And that's all I have.
Questions from Joe?
No, I don't.
Jody?
Got my report. And the car lot is up for sale. Well, we got an issue out there. We don't know where the water line runs and the sewer line. It runs
Through the middle of the lot.
close to it.
I mean, I can't tell you where it's at, I just remember we went up through the middle of the lot back when I was here.
You're as good as Jim now.
It's in that ballpark.
So it goes up that Douglas also.
Right.
So the realtor is kinda wanting to know where it's at, because like I told her, I said it was done back in the days where it was the good old boys. So, Bloodhound, I contacted them, we used them before to come in, and they're gonna try to locate water and sewer lines for us. And that's for $1,096.
I make a motion for $1,096.
I'll second that.
to sign.
Yeah.
I think that was done in 90?
Probably 91, 92 is when I first started.
No, cause Dudley, I remember when he bought that property, and those kids were in there in 89,
Sorry.
when they tore everything up. Cause they ended up stealing the cars out of that car lot when, the guy from Angola had it.
Micah, did you second that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I did the resolution.
You gonna do the change order in the next?
Yes.
Okay. That's really all I have.
Our drawing that's attached, is that actually what she's supposed to look like when they're done?
We're still working on it, Bob. I've been trying to get what the eyelashes, the size of them are right now, and that's what they sent me today. But I'm asking them to give me the dimensions, what the eyelashes are now, and I wanna know what size they're going to on that drawing. And it's the same thing with the dots on the necklace. If you see, they enlarged that cause now it extends below the painter's ring. But I wanna know what the size of the dots are, what they are now and what they're proposing
To
for
make,
that.
correct.
So, we're working on it, but that, I need to know the final size of things. Cause I told him, I said, you can't see the thing very well from the distance. So,
Yeah, the necklace, you're trying to even tell what,
Yeah, I know.
like just a black dot.
I know, so,
I thought it
yeah.
was her tree.
Huh?
I thought it was her tree.
Oh,
Be nice if they, Roger, would be cool if that ring, if they painted around that ring, then made that emerald or something, the opposite color. So at least it looked like it was a necklace.
well, it will, once we get the dots on it.
Okay,
It'll look more like a necklace, yes.
When they put the first coat on it, I was freaking out because it was like yellow. Next day I was like, okay, we're good.
Yeah,
We're
Me
good.
too, me too. Okay. Anything else for utility?
I don't have anything.
I don't. I just showed up to the party.
Peggy, you have anything? This meeting?
No, it's for the next meeting.
I guess before we adjourn the department head, I noticed the unaccountable water loss, does that have anything to do with the break though?
No.
Okay,
That just happened Monday
Okay.
afternoon. No, I don't know, Mike, I'm trying to determine on where it's going.
Okay.
And with all the rain we've had, it's hard to
yeah,
look in the catch basins to see if it's going in the catch basin or
Okay.
not.
fair enough. I just got curious whether that's.
No. I had only leaked for maybe 2 hours. And that was only a 2-inch line, I wouldn't have lost the
Okay.
amount of water I'm losing, I wouldn't have lost that.
Just
amount.
curious.
But that is one thing you need to look at, replacing that 2-inch line, because there is nine breaks on that 2-inch line.
How far does that go?
Just down the alley and back up to. the
Just from Union to?
Union
To Wabash and then up to Hobart.
up to Hobart.
But the east side of Union? Or is that the one that broke, is that the same line that broke in the center of Union there?
Yep. And it won't be cheap to do, because there's a lot of utilities in there. A lot. But it is something, I mean, I looked at it 10, 12 years ago about replacing it. But anyway, yeah, to do it right, it needs to be increased to a 6-inch line and then a fire hydrant put back in there also, just because of the buildings there.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah. Adjourn this meeting and take a little break until 6:45.
I make a motion to adjourn the department head meeting.
I second that.
Or, alright, well, we adjourn at 6:45 for the regular meeting.
Roger. You seen the
I was trying to
bottom
look
and
in
the
there.
other water?
I think.
This is
Well, I don't know, I believe it's this
Oh,
one. That's-
yeah.
I haven't changed.
Oh, okay.
That's change order. I think this was the other one
Yeah.
that we did.
We're waiting everything on the foot.
Found that change order and now I lost it.
I'm trying to think where it is, but it's a good thing with the T and it's all small.
Yeah, I believe it.
A little bit of Brian and Spangler.
We're gonna try to, a lot of setup, a lot of rigging to go back and get back up there. And-
Oh, yeah, they probably have the law. Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm
definitely.
curious if it got when they got it.
It probably doesn't look small from up there.
Probably
I'm
maybe
sure
height or
it
something.
doesn't.
Oh, yeah, no, it definitely is.
Yeah.
I mean, from straight on, it looks good, but.
I just had that change order and I've lost it somewhere. I don't know, I just did. I know, I just had.
So you have more stuff, those are the POs that they signed in that.
Alright. Alright.
Check those in.
You do that one?
It's our ritual now.
I was going through my folder when I got here, I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm like, that does not have my name on it. She switched Bob my folders, almost got your check, you almost got
Oh, you
mine.
say, hang on, I got mine.
Yeah,
Come
it is yours
Before I
now.
sign.
I got mine now, so.
Yeah, whatever. Don't go there, Roger, just don't. I know, I just had it.
Oh, I got it.
Give the Mike a sign.
Alright, guess what? No.
I'll transfer it to city.
There is a change order that's in the basic.
Yeah.
packet. I need to go make a copy because, guess what?
You lost yours?
I added, who knows what the heck I did with
I
it?
say, I got one too.
I know you, all three of you.
I don't know what happened.
So, when does it go on, Mom? After the completion date? Is it in there?
I do is
Oh,
gonna
it's
fill it,
Still June 20th.
gotta fill it. It's got to set a couple days, and just, gonna have to have back to Santos to
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright, minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as distributed.
I second that.
I'll concur.
Sorry.
Yeah, I need to get reading more. I'm trying to get copies of it. Approval of financial and bank reconciliation reports.
I make a motion for the approval of the financial and bank reconciliation reports.
I'll second that.
I'll concur, sorry. Approval of accounts payable register. Make a motion.
Yep, I make a motion for the approval of the accounts payable register.
I'll second that.
I'll concur. Ordinance and resolutions, resolution number 3, waiving non-compliance with filing deadlines for compliance statement benefits, personal property taxes, Brightmark Classics renewal.
Would you like us to recap from last month?
You know, Tiffany,
Yeah.
Brittany.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hi.
I was not here.
That's
sorry.
fine. So, good evening, my name is Bob Ehrman, I'm an attorney with Howler & Colvin of Fort Wayne, I'm here tonight representing Brightmark. What this relates to is kind of the sequence of events that had happened last year. As you'll recall, I believe the CF1 was filed, but it might have been filed either right before the hearing, and then the assessor also had a question whether or not the equipment qualified for the abatement, because whether or not there was a question the abatement, the property was in production or not. So then, as part of that, Brightmark also did not file the personal property taxes until June. It should have been filed on May 15th. There was a hearing then in June, which I believe was also continued, and then the hearing was continued to July, and then the hearing was continued to August 13th, where the abatement was actually approved. What this does is that the Indiana statute, so though the abatement was approved, it qualified under law for the abatement. This is a procedure that the Indiana law allows to basically waive technical compliance with those deadlines. So it's simply curing procedural. It doesn't change anything about the abatement, but it basically cures in kind of after the fact, cures those deadlines and says, well, even though those deadlines weren't technically met, you can issue the waiver of non-compliance and they're treated as if they were met. I think that when the council approved the abatement in August, they approved the abatement despite the fact that there was a delay in the filing of personal property taxes and the timing of the CF1. So what we're really asking for is the approval under the statute to have a technical waiver of those procedural noncompliance. That's essentially what it is. It's what the statute allows the board to do. Has nothing to do with this year's tax abatement. Has really nothing to do with whether or not it qualified for the abatement last year. You're simply, as I put it last month, you're crossing T's, you're dotting I's because the deadlines weren't technically met. But the abatement was approved and the abatement's still on.
I just have a question. I couldn't find anything where they have authority to approve or permit a filing, violation of the filing deadline for the personal property tax.
Well, the statute talks about, the statute talks about any other document related to the abatement. And in the case that I think we submitted in the letter, construed that very broadly, and then said that can be any document related. That's what the statute had said.
It says under this chapter, which is totally about tax abatement, doesn't say, I know the county assessor believes she's the only one that has the right to do that, so.
Well, I guess if she does, at the end of the day, the statute still is just waiving any kind of technical noncompliance. It's not saying that the personal property, and by the way, one of the requirements of the statute is that everything you didn't meet, you had to have done. So the CF1 statement of compliance was filed, and then also the personal property taxes were all filed, and those things all have to be done before you adopt the resolution for the waiver of noncompliance, and they were all done last year.
I probably should have done this up front, but I have a conflict of interest because I also represent the county, and the county has separate counsel for this issue. So to eliminate my conflict, so just so you know that. Okay. Last I heard, it was probably Kurt Bachman, or Grange County attorney, but I'm not sure if they followed through on that or not. So.
My issue, I guess, we talked about it last meeting, is everything we did last year, I feel like we did in good faith with the information we had. But I question, at what point does this set a precedence so that anybody else that comes to us with hey, we missed the filing deadline, waive our penalty. We don't do that with utilities. We don't do that with the county doesn't do it with property taxes. For us, as you're 1 day late, you pay your penalty. So I understand what the process is here, but I just want to make sure that this. Now I even question whether or not there's a legality or we have the authority to do this. So now I'm even more confused as
well. I'm not saying you don't. I'm saying that, and I think the county assessor approved everything.
Everything was approved. That is, the assessor received all the information they had. They received it. It doesn't really, again, it doesn't change anything except for the fact. And I get the point is that the fact is that the abatement was approved in August, right? So all it is going through and saying that you approved the abatement in August. It's saying, okay, these deadlines weren't technically met, but you still approved the abatement. So this is the statutory mechanism that Brightmark has, is to go to what we call the designated entity to say, again, we're crossing the T's, we're dotting the I's. And I understand your comment.
I question, would we have approved it in August had we known that the deadlines were missed? Because I don't ever recall that being told to us as a council that, hey, we're way past the deadlines for this. This is really a mute issue. The filing was only, as I recall, a day or two ahead of the deadline when it was first brought to us. And with the information that we were given from the assessor, we would have been foolish to accept it at that point, because we were told that there was non-compliance.
I think that's correct.
So I guess I don't feel like this is on us to
but I don't want that. I'm not saying that it's on you. I'm saying, as the person who received the abatement, this is the only statutory process we have to go back, again, cross the Ts and dot the Is for the abatement that was approved in August.
So without this, they're not getting it, is that correct?
We believe the abatement is still in effect. The auditor, I think, the auditor has said, well, we don't think you get the abatement. But the auditor doesn't have any authority to revoke abatement that you approved. The auditor doesn't approve the abatement, this board does.
I'll be honest,
Everybody's looking at
I
me.
know.
I'm not sure.
I'm not looking at you, Don, I know what I'm gonna say.
I'm not the person that makes the decisions.
Okay.
In my opinion, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference whether you do it or don't, so that's quite frankly, there may be some benefit to the petitioner if you grant it, but that's up to you. It's your decision. And this is the revised resolution because you might explain, Bob.
Right, so the reason we revised the resolution, other than the fact that I misspelled Micah's name, which is, so one of the things that happened earlier in the year, Brightmark did file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Delaware, okay? So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I'm a bankruptcy expert, but here's what essentially happened. So that it was a Chapter 13 to reorganize, and the issue is, right, do you continue or do you wind up the business? So the assets went to a sale in May. The largest bidder was the bank, and the bank was going to shut its plant down, liquidate everything, and close it. So Brightmark formed a competing entity. It's called Brightmark OpCo, and they then put in a bid because they want to keep the plant here. They want to keep it operating. They want to keep the jobs there. So that when you had these two competing bids, then they had to go have a trial, which I'm glad I didn't have to go to. It was in Delaware, and I didn't even have to listen to it. But essentially, then the judge ruled then that the Brightmark OpCo was the best bid because that was the bid that kept the business in operation, kept the jobs, and kept it in operation, rather than simply winding it down and selling the asset. So the resolution takes into account that fact that so the Brightmark OpCo is now the successor in interest. It's still going to be called Brightmark. It's all the same assets. It's all the same people. They're continuing the operations as they have been. So I revised the resolution because that all happened in May after we had our meeting. So that's why I revised it. And I spelled it. Hopefully I spelled your name correctly.
It is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I mean, it kind of sounds like it doesn't matter
Well,
what we do. It's not going to
obviously,
benefit nor hurt us.
it's not gonna affect, if you pass the resolution, it's not gonna affect actually one bit.
Correct.
So it does not change the revenue that's generated one way or another.
Well, if you don't pass the resolution, you've already approved the abatement, so I don't think
I would
it's
agree.
gonna affect Ashley any at all. Whether the auditor has the right to deny the abatement would affect everybody in the county.
So after we make our decision, then it's gonna go to the auditor to make
The
the
auditor
or is she gonna just override all this?
the auditor has already made a decision that her decision is based on the fact that she had to submit all of her documents to set the tax rate prior to this, and as a result of primarily the late filing the personal property tax return, she didn't, and the abatement also, she had to put in numbers that were different than if the abatement was granted, which it was granted, but was approved, but she didn't have that in time, and therefore it affects the tax rate for the assessed valuation, I should say, for the entire thing. And the tax rate too, but primarily assessed valuation.
But that part's already done, so.
And I would say they met with the assessor, in August, and actually have the notes from the assessor showing the abatement. So the assessor had those notes showing the abatement on the assessment for next year.
I mean, I feel like since we've already approved the abatement last year and it's not going to affect us, I'm okay with it.
Do we have a motion for resolution number 3 waiving that?
I make the motion to approve resolution number 3, waiving non-compliance with the filing deadlines for compliance with statement of benefits, personal property taxes for Brightmark Class 6 renewal.
And I'll second that. So just for the record, Bob, I know where you're at. Let's all in favor. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you.
Can I put resolution number 3 up here at the top of this, Don?
Yes, if you would. And only the ayes have to sign. Thank you.
I'm not going to do that, Don. Yeah, just throw it in the file, yeah. Or-
Peggy has to sign.
I don't know.
Does Peggy have to sign it too?
Yes.
Do you need a copy right away, Bob?
No, Peggy, could you email it to me sometime this week? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Old business, item A is not, necessary for discussion, so we'll move on to new business. Discussion on the sewer project, DLZ.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Is this our 40-minute time?
Yep, I'm trying to get him unmuted. You there, Buzz?
Oh, I hear you fine now, thank you.
You're welcome. There.
Gentlemen, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
How are you all tonight?
Good, thank you.
Good.
And I don't know where you are in the meeting. Are you ready for me to talk about the,
We are.
sewer financial situation?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I may share a screen. Can you,
Give me a
see
second.
this very well, or have you seen those,
I was like,
earlier projections we've been working on?
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
But, obviously, y'all have been studying this wastewater treatment plant project for some time, and we've been trying to get on the, high enough ranking on the, SRF project priority list so we can get, their, reduced funding program and some forgivable funds, or they call it forgivable funds instead of grants, but it's the same thing. So that's sort of the situation. For some reason, we didn't score very high last year, but we've got, we're facing pretty high rate adjustments looking forward, and we're hoping that we've been a squeaky wheel down there too with the representatives from the SRF program that we deal with for this project. So I'm hoping they give it
better rate than what they did last year. Obviously, there's a lot of need out there, but has Casey talked about the project already tonight? Where we are with the SRF application and?
Not tonight.
Not tonight, Buzz,
We
but
already come out in early July. We should,
Pull the chair.
about a month from now, know if we're gonna be in the fundable range or not. And what the fundable range means, you'll get a lower interest rate and be eligible for grant funding. There he is. Thank you. By the way, my name is Buzz Crone with O.W. Crone Associates. We're the municipal advisors for the town. When you've had bond financings come up in the past, and we've been working with DLZ on the financing end of the project for a couple of years now. But the ideal project, as I understand it, is $15 or $16 million. In order for us to keep our rate at about $100 a month, right now you're at about $56 a month for 4,000 gallons. We could do that if we did a 30-year loan on $8 million. So the gap between $8 million and $16 million is significant, so we would need significant grant funding. Like I say, we won't know where we rank until probably about this time next month. But I will share my screen here, and the host isn't allowing sharing. Is Casey right there?
yes, we can hear you, Buzz.
Can you fix it so I can share my screen?
I have no idea, I just got it that far.
Slap it?
Is this Teams or Zoom?
Zoom.
I promise I won't put anything naughty up there. That's
Come on.
Always threatening she won't hear.
That's still not allowing me to.
Well, Mike is running it, so give him a second.
Yeah, you,
Here.
Trying.
She looks like an
You
IT.
struggle with your brain machine, so.
There you go. I don't.
Where was I? What does it do with those three dots that say more? What's the options there?
Technology's great when it works, isn't it?
You got it.
I have a guy.
I got it. I think I got it. Let's try that. See if that works.
Wow, you are the best. You are the best.
Don't tell anybody.
You see my screen?
Uh,
Hang on, it's coming. I think. Are you seeing that?
we are seeing it. It's rather small. Let me see if I can make this
Bigger on your end?
bigger on our end.
You need like a big screen.
You're supposed to know that stuff, right?
Huh?
You're supposed to know that stuff.
I can't see it.
I used
I
a
really-
14 font instead of 11. But, while you're trying to do that, I'll just start explaining sort of what this is. When the Indiana code sets out a specific formula for establishing municipal sewage works rates, just like they do municipal water and electric and so on. And basically the primary revenue requirements that in the code says shall be sufficient to fund these specific revenue requirements. First, your cash operation and maintenance expenses. They're running just a little shy of $500,000 a year right now. then the debt service on your existing bonds is about $120,000 a year. On the proposed bonds, it's all over the place depending on how much we have to borrow and what interest rate we qualify for with, so that's the big variable on this spreadsheet that you're looking at.
Buzz, when does the existing bonds, mature?
Okay.
It's probably
Those were issued in 2025.
So we still got 15 years probably? 20
Yeah.
years.
It was through the the Rural Development or Farmers Home Administration program.
Okay.
We still have about $1.7 million outstanding, and that's gonna go on until 2044. So that's still another 18 years. That's the downside of that funding plan. It's great to keep the rates low, but oftentimes the mechanical equipment will wear out in 20 years. But
So
it's an excellent program for getting started in the sewer business.
So if you don't mind me asking, we're talking 30 years again, which I understand that's probably where our only option, but we're gonna do the same thing in 20 years again, right?
Well, you know, the technology is better now. I don't know, Casey, how much of this plant is concrete work versus mechanical? Is it about half and half, or?
It's probably at least 50% equipment cost.
Yeah. So the equipment will start wearing out. You know, it depends. It probably won't all wear out at the same time, unfortunately, but you know, we'll have a depreciation allowance for, you know, but you shouldn't have any problem for the first 5 or 10 years, I would think. But there will be an allowance for working capital and capital projects and bond coverage. Bond coverage is an important word with these financing programs, or if you're doing open market bonds or getting a loan from the bank. They want to see a comfortable margin of bond coverage, which is the difference between your operating revenues coming in and your cash operating expenses going out. They want to make sure that net operating revenue is at least 125% of what the annual debt payment requirements are. So that's where we get funding that will, you know, hopefully not be needed for major repairs for a while, but could be. You'll have to build up a debt service reserve fund over the first 5 years of the bond issue. I think Farmers Home gave you 10 years probably before, but that's another step you'll have to do the first 5 years is fund up, you know, and it'll likely be, you know, $500,000 a year to 600,000 or 700. You know, it depends on how much we end up having to borrow and at what term we get. The 30-year term really comes out. If you see option 1, I'm comparing the 30-year term with if you got an $8 million bond issue at 2% for 20 years. The rate's probably going to be more than 2%. Now it's probably closer to 2.5 or 2.7. But they change those program rates every quarter. So July 1st will be a new quarter. But the rate came out. I don't know if you can see where the bold letters are at the bottom. Average residential bill at 4,000 gallons. That row.
Yes.
Borrowing $8 million over 30 years at 3.75% is a better deal per month than doing the 20-year term. But obviously, you're paying a heck of a lot more interest over 10 more years. The 20-year term would still, if we got in the program, I would welcome that 20-year term.
Yeah, I would agree, for a $4 increase
Yeah, it's not that much more to.
per resident, yeah, the money we would save would be incredible.
Right, right. The first step will be hopefully getting a high rank on this PPR or PPL, project priority list, that will come out the first week of July. And then we'll know if we're in the hunt for 20-year below market rates or closer to market rates, and we could go, I think you could go to 35 years, but 30 years helps buy the rate down significantly. 35 years doesn't really do that much more better, you know, so, and we can always do less, but it'll be a tough pill to swallow to have to face rates going up this much, but you're not alone, I can tell you that. I'll bring, when we get ready for public hearings and so forth, I'll bring rate comparisons that show what other communities are paying, and particularly ones that have had to go through an upgrade program like you're having to do right now. But then you'll be set for a while, and hopefully, you know, this will last 20 years or more before you need another expansion. I know the engineers try to plan for at least a 20-year growth allowance, and, you know, there's usually a little bit extra in there. But the row at the bottom and the row at the top shows what the assumed bond issues are, and then what those rates would turn out to be at the, you know, the bottom, you know, the bolded numbers at the bottom. And then in the red numbers, right below the bond amounts, we show an amount of grant needed to buy the rate down to $100 per month. So if instead of, in option one, instead of having to borrow, you know, if we were able to borrow just $7.2 million for 20 years at 2%, we'd have a $100 a month rate instead of $103.49.
So Buzz,
yeah,
the significance of the $100 a month is because that's what SRF considers a high rate now. Right?
You know, used to $65 a month. If you were in that ballpark, you'd get some grant money likely, but now the rates, and I don't know if it's all a function of COVID, but the construction costs jumped significantly during COVID and they've never come down. So that's been.
And the 8 million that has on there, that's that's not like an estimate. That's just a number that he's using to come up with $100 a month.
Okay.
So the other thing we're doing is,
if you didn't get a grant, the rates at the bottom are the rates you'd end up with. And if we could, you know, net out between the bond amount, like in option 3, we're still ending up just borrowing $8 million, but we're assuming we get $1 million of free fund somewhere, you know, whether it be, it's probably not likely we get it from SRF because you're either in the program or not, and usually the pool programs don't give free funding, but you know, maybe with all this other stuff going on, something will come out where, because you're not alone facing rates of this nature. This is, unfortunately, it's becoming, you know, a trend, pretty strong trend, even with bigger cities. So that's sort of in a nutshell. I wanted to just brace you for that. I know we've been discussing this with the you know, the project team, you know, with Casey and myself and the clerk treasurer, and Don Stuckey's been involved in several of those teams meetings. So what we're looking at is hoping to get, you know, some direction on whether we're going to get some free funding and whether we get the program rate, hopefully the first week of July. And if not, then we'll be looking at trying to either turn the project down or have to face, I think option 6, that was still coming in $4 million. Now, if we turn it down to $12, we'd be looking, or $12 million, we'd be looking at about $120 a month rate. You see that in option 6?
Sure.
So that's sort of the range we're looking at, but there's still variables ahead of us. But, being ready to go is also a part of being ranked high, and the fact that we've got our PER in. I know we need to start with design. Were you talking about that engagement tonight, Casey?
No, I mean, they've given us the go-ahead to do the preliminary design, but I think the other discussion was covering fees for final design up till bidding.
Right, and that, we may need to look at some interim funding for that. We had Tom Pittman from Barnes and Thornburg join us at our last Teams meeting last week, and he's going to lay out a timeline of things. But if we've got our, if we're underway with design, if we have, rates and bond documents ready to go, hopefully that will help our score with when they go through their rating process. And again, we'll continue to be the squeaky wheel down there. There's 2 guys that I pester. One is Bill Harkins, and the other is Alex Hilt, who's kind of a fairly new staff member. He's probably been there a year, but he does a lot of financial reviews, and and obviously Jim was off as the top dog down there.
I have a question, and maybe you guys can't even answer this. If we were to get, because we're trying to get some housing here, like if we were to say get 50 houses, would that automatically push us into another expansion before?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I would think are they doubling their size or more, Casey?
We're not significantly increasing
What
capacity,
kind of
but there's capacity for residential.
Project for growth.
Just ask what kind of capacity we have for growth.
With our average loads right now, we'd probably take another 150,000 gallons a day.
Which is so many households.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of houses.
Okay.
I mean, I'd be more concerned about.
We just want to make sure that we don't.
Right, yeah, that's an excellent question.
Yeah.
And,
Now, if we
I
get a
just don't
factory
wanna
here
push
wants
for it
to
and it
discharge
gets
a 500,000 gallons a day, yeah, we might have to look at, but then you can get into EDA stuff and stuff like that. You're talking about bigger business.
The majority of the cost of this project is to address that item that's listed on the IDM letter, which is the EQ facility. In order for you to install that EQ facility, we have to add a pump station, and then we have to add a headworks. So unfortunately, that's a huge chunk of this that helps practically in terms of your capacity, but it doesn't necessarily increase your capacity on paper by adding that. It's something that's required as part of the system the plant can have. And why those numbers range so much is because we're making that the base bid. But then any of these other items that get you up close to that larger number that Buzz is referencing are alternates that we can not award, do or not do as part of the project. And when you get these numbers, there's 2 items. Is it what's the size of the project, and are you using pool funding, which that means you're not getting grant money, and we'll find that out in July or August. And the good part about that is if you want to, you can go 35 years. The bad part is that your rates are gonna be higher and you're not getting grant money. If you get scored well, it's kind of a catch-22. I'm just letting you know, I'm being a realist here, because in theory, your rates probably won't go down a lot because they're giving you that money based on a larger project to buy the rates down to $100, $105, $110 a month. The only thing that better package is more likely going to do is to give you more of a project. And unfortunately, that's just based on the construction costs we're in, as well as how SRF looks at funding and what a high rate is. Like I said, if you remember the last time I was here, the SRF, I don't know if you remember that statement I got where SRF sent an email to Buzz and I and said they closed on 12 projects this past fiscal year, and over half of them, their rates were $95 to over $100 a month. And they probably got a good funding package. So again, I know I've been in front of this board several times, but there's no way we can cut it where your rates are not gonna be
$100.
Yep.
Okay. And I think personally, I'm okay with that. I would rather see us get a good project
Right.
and have that rate than to have half of a project and have that rate, for sure.
Exactly. Yep.
So, I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Right.
But let's do the best we can to get the project that we need.
And that's our goal.
Right now, your average daily flows, I believe, are less than 2 MTD. Can you see that?
Yeah, 0.19, yes.
Yeah, 0.19 MTD, so what's the rated capacity of the new plant?
0.4.
Average is 0.4.
Oh, that's
So,
rated
like-
capacity, right?
Yeah. Right, you can do that.
So what, double?
Is it-
Is that
Well,
right?
our permit
0.4,
says
yes.
we're rated for
Yes.
400,000 gallons a day, but we only
So
treat
you'll have
about 190,000.
200,000 gallons per day of, I'm just trying to come up with, if you take 200,000 gallons per day divided by 300 gallons per day, let's see. I can't get my number formats. So that's a lot of houses. Let me see, I got that right. 200,000 gallons per day, divided by 300%. That's about 650 houses probably.
I just didn't wanna keep on trying to push for this and screw ourselves.
Yeah. So that would be your available capacity. Do you agree with that, Casey?
Yeah, and that's how much you could get. And then when you get at 90% IDIN, that's usually when they tell you they cut you off. So it's probably a little less than 40.
Right.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
That would be a good problem to have.
Okay, right.
Now, your infiltration rate, let me just kind of quickly go over something here. Your infiltration rate is about 18%, which is outstanding. I mean, I work with a lot of old cities that have, treat 2 to 3 times as much as they bill their customers for. So you've got a fairly tight system. Now, one thing, I'm going to show you the billings for this data is a couple years old. We're going to be updating this, later this month, so we get through 2024. This is as of 2022. That will be had this snapshot. Have things stayed relatively the same, or have you had any major growth spurts or loss of industry or anything that would
No, everything's
cause
about the
these
same.
numbers to be materially off base?
No, Jim's saying it should be all about the same.
Okay, so Hudson is, we measure Hudson's effluent from the pipe that comes into the plant, okay? So they're actually paying for the infiltration on their system, whatever that amount is. Is it safe to say that a lot of the infiltration could be coming from Hudson, or I don't know, is that a newer system than what we have?
No, well, it's a small diameter sewer system and they have septic tanks, so they get some I&I too.
So, but we are billing them for their infiltration and inflow.
Yeah, everything that Hudson collects goes straight to our plant and it's metered.
Yeah. If our customers were billing on what what water we sell them. And then there's obviously an infiltration factor on top of that, because there's infiltration in everywhere. Fortunately, you don't have a whole lot to worry about, but it does affect, to make rates fair for Hudson. They're using 25% of the build flow, but they're only using about 18% of the treated flow. Do you guys understand that distinction?
I don't.
No.
Okay. We bill our customers for 57 million gallons of wastewater, and it's primarily the water usage for our retail customers plus the metering point at Hudson. So that's about 57.4 million gallons for the year. We treated about 70 million gallons. So our infiltration rate is about 12.5 million gallons, okay? Some of that infiltration, well, actually, this is the amount that really would be coming from our system, because Hudson's is already in the build flow, if you know what I mean. So, and the point being, we have to have a contract with Hudson, and that contract will have to extend as long as our financing with the state revolving fund, which could be as long as 30 years if we don't get the 20-year program funds, and even if we do, we may want to see if we, we'll worry about that when we get there. But in the meantime, we have to have some negotiations with Hudson to talk to them about. Right now, they pay a 20% share of the debt service on the existing bond issue. There's another, 19 years left on that deal. And then, assuming, we'll either do 20 or 30-year financing on this next deal, which will, even if we did 20-year financing, we'll go beyond the rural development bond payment time period. So we'll need a contract extension with Hudson, and then we need to make sure we're comfortable with whatever this rate that we want to pass on to them, because it'd be ideal if they would pay us. They collect the debt service from their customers, their share of it, and make those payments to us twice a year. Is that how that's working right now, Peggy?
Yes.
And but we need to get them to agree, and I don't know what choice they have, because we have. It's not like we're doing this just because we want to do it.
Correct.
But I don't know what other choice they would have. For them to build their own plant would be cost prohibitive, and there's nowhere else for them to go, I don't think. So, I mean, we're kind of married to them.
Yeah, for sure. I think we are.
So, we got to get along and make sure they're comfortable. Right now, the 20% is kind of in between what looks like the gross flows right now versus the build flows.
Okay.
Idea if we keep it at 20%, that makes the math simple for everybody. It's the same as what we've been doing for the last 20 years. But the amounts are going to be considerably more, depending on, if we had to do a $12 million bond issue, their share of this 670,000 plus the 120 is, it's not a small number, a couple $100,000. Right now they're paying, I think they pay about 25,000 right now. Let me find that.
Yeah. Hey Buzz, just real quick, we got like 7 minutes, we're gonna get shut off on the Zoom call, so
That's
just,
right,
okay.
I mean, I've probably gone on to a lot more than I thought I would.
Okay.
But I know a lot of you haven't seen, you probably heard about it, but you haven't seen the numbers, but we need to work out a deal with Hudson where they're gonna cooperate and continue, with, contributing their share of the debt service on the bonds, and then we'll do the rates just like we have been doing in the past. Those will have to go up, obviously. But it looks like, we're probably, hopefully gonna be able to keep it somewhere in between $100 and $120 a month for our retail rate. And that's sort of the goal at this point. But in between now and the first week of July, we're gonna update all of our financial information through 2024. And we'll need also, there's another hiccup. Have you been audited in the last couple of years?
Get audited every year.
No.
Yeah.
I think they're scheduled for August, aren't they, Peggy?
Yes, it's this fall.
Scheduled for August.
It's scheduled for August?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because we'll need to have that audit. That's another new requirement with SRF. You have to have an audit that's no less than 2 years old. So if they're coming in August, we'll get it done. That's perfect timing, actually.
Okay.
Just
Put a squeeze on them to hurry up and get the reports published.
Just so you know, I've contacted the Hudson Town Attorney and let him know what's coming, so.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is that done?
Yes.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, we talked about that, and, but do you guys have a friendly relationship? I know years and years ago, before I started working for the town, I had, some arguments with Hudson, but that's probably going back 20 years. That's probably going back 20 years, because I think I've been working with you guys for 10 or 15 years at least.
I don't know how they get along, but actually provides police service, fire service,
Water and
I think
water and sewer.
more than it ever has been,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think it's better than what it has been in the past, so, this might strain it, to be honest.
Well, the last couple of times and with the water project that we just did, there were no problems that I recall.
Yeah.
It went very smooth and,
This is gonna strain relations with some of our own residents, so I'm sure that we will with them as well, so,
that's
if we're being honest, but,
the ones that get the vote too.
yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, I know, this is not a fun,
It's okay.
fun issue. Casey and I'll be there at the public hearing to, try to explain why, this is a better option than letting everything go.
Okay.
So, well, thank you, and, I'm sorry I took up so much time.
No.
But I'm glad this is a great connection. Do you all have a big TV, or are you staring at a?
Laptop. A little laptop, so.
Maybe we could, put a TV in the bond anticipation note budget. Because we will have to have, some kind of financing to pay for the design, engineering, and preliminary costs of the project.
Right.
I'll bring you the TV.
But, we'll talk about that more. We'll get our rate study updated. Let's get on that list and take it from there.
Okay.
Thanks, Buzz.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Bye now.
Bye.
On the right.
Or just shut it.
Just blame it on the carpet.
Serious talking. The mouse seat now?
Okay. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
So I'm
You-
sorry he didn't kill it.
I guess you want me to explain anything? or
No,
do you want me- do you want me to give you a simple explanation? or
I,
what do you
I,
just-
I understand what he's saying.
Okay.
This was very scary for me as we started it, but as we move through this, I feel comfortable that obviously we have no choice. Anybody that's sitting in these 3 seats are gonna have to make these decisions, and we're gonna make a decision that's gonna better this town, and we're just gonna move forward with it, and it is what it is. But the bigger project we can get with free money is
Saves
for the
down
better.
the road.
It's for the better. It's for long term. It's for the better. So.
One thing I'll add is real quick going forward, that all of our fees from now until the end of the year, you can pay yourself back, so that's why Buzz was talking about possibly getting a van, okay? And then also in July is when SRF comes out, so that's when we're gonna be on, where we're gonna be at on their list. Our plan is to have bids early October. And then the way I think it'll probably happen is you may do an interim rate increase between now and the end of the year, but the final increase probably will not come until we get the bids in hand, so you know how much you're actually gonna spend. Because that's one of the dilemmas. You can't do the final increase until we have the bids, and I got a base bid and all these alternates. So once we get those bids in hand, we'll give them to Buzz and Bond Council, so it'll be in about 2 months, they'll close the project. That's typically what will happen. And I've asked SRF that we can close as late as possible in the year. They said, well, if that's the case, I gotta have bids by October.
And there was some discussion at the last Zoom meeting that to pay their fees, we may be able to borrow some monies from the TIF bond. We have to pay them back when the bond then comes into it.
They don't pay interest on bond for banks. Just pay it back.
Yeah.
And we tried to skinny this down to like 4 or 5 months, but so it's kind of crazy to get a van and pay 50 or 70,000 for a van when we got those money in TIF. So I think that's what we were talking about, is a resolution or ordinance that you can pay it back.
Perfect. I like it.
So we'll have an agreement at the next meeting, and it'll be a large number, but it's for that time as well as the time going forward. But there will be condition on the time going forward on the construction. We won't do any of that unless you award the project, of course.
Okay.
So.
Fair enough. Appreciate it. Any more questions?
Rock and roll.
I don't have any.
All right, we'll move on then. Approval for additional appropriation for park recreation for $9,300.
I make a motion to approve the additional appropriations for the park and recreation for $9,300.
I do just have a quick question. So you said that wasn't the full, like this is part of the grant plus the extra stuff that you needed to do, correct?
Correct, because I already paid the one out of last year.
So when we're ready, because that's probably coming up quick, I'm waiting on some measurements from that grant for the tower itself. So when we get to that point, will we have to do another additional appropriation to use the rest of it for mulch, rubber mulch?
Your grant was only for 12,000, correct? 12,000.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, from the monkey bars and the side, or the other one was the 12,000. I'll double check and make sure.
I came in below, I do know that. I mean, there was some
I just know
leftover.
that,
So your question is this additional appropriation the entire fund?
Yes.
no, it's not, no.
Can we make it the entire fund?
No,
So we don't have to do it again?
I don't wanna take it all out of there. I
We
think
could
we only
do
got,
2 steps.
So like, here's my question. So when we're ready to use the rest of that to get the rubber mulch,
then we
we have
can,
to wait on another town council meeting
mhm,
after it's installed.
yes.
There wasn't a ton left over. So maybe we can just, maybe we don't need that. Maybe we can just take it out of parks and pay it back. I don't know.
I'll double check everything and give you the numbers.
Is my mind just crazy right now, or am I coming, like?
Oh, no, don't let us, don't let us.
No.
Go there.
I've been looking at numbers all day, so, yes, I know that it's close. I think we got,
I can tell you right now. course, my internet's not working there.
Okay, out of that fund, I have, just in the appropriation report that I have $3,789 left out of the park equipment fund. Now, the one that you guys get, which is the investments plus, that's the one you guys get. Yes, that one. That one right there. If you look here, Park and Recreation, I took 9,000 out of this.
13.5,
Yes.
basically 13.6.
So that, whatever, 9,000 out of that, that's what we have left. And I,
4,600 of them.
Yeah. so I'm just letting you know, I mean, we could do an additional appropriation, but I do know that pavilion needed to be fixed for $3,800.
Okay.
So that's why I did the
That's probably
9.
coming out of that
I
as
just
well,
didn't
right?
I just wanted to make sure that we weren't using that grant to fix the pavilion.
No,
So
no,
I can make sure that when I turn everything into them, that everything that I turn in matches up to that grant that we got. All
Yes.
those numbers are exact.
yes.
I
You have a second.
second that.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're not concur. You need to sign.
No, I just needed,
Okay. Approval for 2026 Steuben County EDC renewal, $3,050.
every year we do it.
I make a motion for the approval for the 2026 Steuben County EDC renewal for $3,050.
I second
I'll
Okay.
concur.
Don't need to
So we need to
sign
sign that?
Nope.
Okay, approval for renewal street sweeping service for State Road 4.
And just that one. Micah has to sign it.
How much?
$1,440.
Yes.
I make a motion for the approval for the renewal street sweeping service for State Road 4 for $1,440.
1,440, correct?
I'll second that.
I'll concur. Approval for McGuire Iron Pay App 13 for $153,738.50.
I make a motion for approval for McGuire Iron Pay App number 13, $150,738.50.
This is it?
You said 150?
$153,738.50.
It's getting there.
I'll second that.
I'll concur.
And the next one, I just need Micah to sign. I guess Indiana Pump Works is a new company that,
Yeah, CEM's not doing pump repair anymore, so we're switched to Indiana Pump Works.
okay. So I just got the application completed.
Signature for Indiana Pump Works LLC.
I make a,
We need a motion for this, or is this just?
This is,
Be something to record.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve signature for Indiana Pump Works LLC.
I'll second that.
I'll concur. Do we all sign this? Just me?
just you. I think, yeah, it's just you.
Then we gotta add the, Westler, that
Change order.
change order.
Yep, and I have it right here. And putting it right where you guys, well, you need to sign it.
It's an increase of 3,800. I assume you've approved it, it's legitimate, so.
Yeah, change order for $3,800 for the, additional change in the logo design.
I make a motion for the approval for Westwood for $3,800 change order.
So I
Second that.
This is change order number 4 for clarification. And I'll concur.
Last item, you want to bring this up?
Yeah. I was-
A police officer, the dog that has the dog, apparently went to Menards and had a fence installed on his property. And then, without getting town board approval, and the total charge was $312.31, which include tax, which of course you
We
would
don't
not
pay
pay.
tax.
You don't pay tax. So $291.88 was the cost of the fence. So the question is, do you wanna approve that expenditure post
$291?
and 88 cents for the fence? I don't know who installed it.
He did.
He installed it himself, but it was for the dog. And he should have come to you first, but
Yeah, I would have approved it.
I would have too. I mean, that's, the
Technically-
safety of the canine is number one.
Technically, it's under $300 council approval,
Yeah.
so I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
Okay, where do you want me to take it out of? You want me to take it out of their equipment or?
it comes out of their equipment. That
Okay.
canine is part of their,
I
Department.
I would assume, yeah.
yeah. It
That's
comes
what
out,
I-
it would,
Oh,
been there, done that,
Okay.
police department, that's my area, that would come out of the equipment fund.
so, but the tax would be out of his pocket because we
Yeah.
don't pay.
Correct.
Two nineteen,
No, 291.
291.
291.88. That's why I didn't do anything yet because
Thank
I
you,
wanted to
Peggy.
make sure
Nope, you did right.
on that one.
Well, I make a motion for the 291.88.
I'll second that.
I concur. Peggy, I signed this change order in the wrong spot, so we'll have to get another copy and I'll sign it.
It's fine.
Or I can just sign mine, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's 3 different copies.
Sorry.
She knew you were gonna mess up.
I guess you did, 'cause
And one other thing, when they did the decals on the cop car, it was over $600. I need a PO from Scott. I was just wondering, do you want me to just go ahead and ask Scott when he comes back from vacation and?
Yeah, just have them submit a PO, we'll be
Okay.
fine with it.
Okay, cause I know when State Board of Accounts are gonna ask when
Right.
it was over.
Yep,
do
yep.
we need to put a motion in for a delayed signature? Or can it wait until
I
next?
can wait till
Next
next
meeting,
week.
okay.
Yeah, I'm just,
Alright, put that in the file. I'll fix this in a second.
sure, I don't know.
What was that?
It came out, what day was that?
Thursday. I mean, I have them, but if it's not on the agenda, I mean, I can explain real quick. We sent them Thursday.
Okay.
No, and I'm just, if,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can go through it real quick.
Yeah.
You okay with that?
okay, so please
So
go.
we get that one closed out.
He's holding on by a thread over there.
So this is for you got a couple pre-open, but this is for Community Crossing, Hobart and Parker. And basically with this project, the work is complete. You've done the punch list, right, Jim?
Yes.
Okay, so Todd, our firm, and Jim have done the punch list, so with this project, you close it out with these action items. After you do this, we will work with Peggy, because there's various documents we gotta send to NDOT to close this out, which I don't think you've been through that process yet, have you? We can help you completely on that. Todd will do it, so all you gotta do is hit send. So, with that, you got 3 action items, actually, you need to do a final change order showing Adida of $11,869.50. That would be change order 1 and final. We have, I'm sorry I didn't bring copies for everybody, but that requires everybody's signature. So there's copies there and attested by Peggy. And then the other 2 items is pay application number 2 for $204,955.85 to Pulver. And then the last one is pay application number 3, that's retained release. So since we've done the punch list and everything's been done, we
we would recommend pay application number 3, $28,656.25. With these three motions, you would close the project out, and again, we would work on filing those documents with NDOT.
You said Culver, but it says Park.
Parker Drive, but Palmer's a contractor.
So we just need a motion for all of these, so. I make a motion to approve pay app number 2 to Culver for $204,955.85.
I second that.
I concur.
I make a motion to approve pay app number 3, retainage release, is that also to Culver?
Yes.
To Culver for $28,656.25.
I second that.
I concur.
And then I make a motion to approve final change order showing a deduct in contract price of $11,869.50.
I second that.
Concur.
Love it when it comes in under price.
Yeah. We try to get as close as we can, because you get 75 cents on the dollar, but it's better to be under.
Yeah.
And then the pay apps, Mike, it just need to be signed by you.
Okay. This change order. Final change order.
Yeah, there's just 2 of those.
Who's the other one?
Oh, sitting over here. I'm sorry.
And then there's the next 2.
Do we need both copies signed?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Copies on that one, 2 copies on this.
I'm sorry, I got it out of order, but there's the second copy that you guys signed first. Go with that out. Figure this out here. Okay, anything else on new business? Move to open to the public. From the public. Speak up. Now's your chance.
Or forever hold my peace. This could be the easiest thing. Well, maybe. I'm new in town. Bought a house down here, and is there any ordinance or anything about trash or junk or rats or? Guess where I live. I'm not gonna put up with it. I love the people, but Ashley's a better town than this to have this bullshit. That is disgusting.
Which property are we talking about? Fill me in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where are we talking?
Ashton Street.
Ashton
It'll be,
Street.
Carrie
Oh,
Allen.
okay.
Okay, well, we should have something we can at least start, right? Do we have, I mean, are there violations of ordinances or?
That's PD's.
That's all.
Business.
Yeah, PE does all that, all the ordinances.
That is terrible.
Have you contacted the police department yet, hon?
No,
Okay.
my name's Candy, by the way. I'm Candy Oliver. I bought the house,
Right next to there.
right next to there. My-
Can you kind of give them guys a heads up about that?
I
That
should.
they need to check into it for us?
I'm gonna tell you this right now. Don't mind my language, I'm a bitch. And
We're fine with that.
I have a husband that's 100% disabled, and we bought that house because it was handicap accessible. They put up a privacy fence for us back there. But when I look out my window and I see mice and rats running, I'm not gonna put up with it. And she works for the freaking health department. She works for, I have to go through her to get permits for, I do fundraising for Steuben County Cancer Association. And I have to go through her to get permits, and you guys are letting her live like that?
Well, I don't know about it until somebody brings it to our
Yeah.
attention. I don't go out and drive around town and look for shit.
Well, you ought to. If you love
Honey, I
this-
did. For 20 years, I was a cop, and I'm the one that took care of it.
If you love this town, you need to get out there.
I know, but it's not my job anymore.
She
That's a
told me
cop
to be
job.
mean to y'all.
Yep, I did.
Okay.
But, you know,
Peggy.
it's just.
No, I agree with you 100%, and we'll see what we can, if we need to change something, we'll change something, but we,
You know, if you walk around back, they've got grass higher, well, he did mow today, and he moved one of the motorcycles. But, and I don't mind the race cars, revving up in the middle of the night, I don't mind any of that.
Oh,
But-
my God, I know who it is now.
I,
God love you. I forgive you. You can say whatever you want. I know who we're talking about.
I can kick your ass just as easy as
I'll let you.
But,
Yeah, so the race car, we have noise ordinances, so that's also a PD.
you know, that don't bother me. And the people, they're great. I mean, they've offered to help when my husband's been down, and they've offered to mow our lawn and everything, but I don't know how their house is, because I'm afraid to go in, but when I sit there in my room and look out there, it's mice and rats and raccoons.
You seen how they lived when they lived in Hudson?
Yeah,
They got a race car in the back yard and all that.
still that way. Harper's, I'm good friends with Eric, and he said, Candy, you need to go see your parents' place. He said, you need to do something, and I'm, like
We'll bring it to the police department's attention and we'll get on top of it.
well, I'll be back.
You're more than welcome to come. We're here every second Tuesday of the month.
Something else I wanted to bring up real quick, and I've already asked. I'm doing a big fundraiser. The night before the fundraiser, I'm having one of the top country western bands in the United States at my house, and I'm bringing in a food truck if it's okay. They have their license and everything.
I didn't know what the ordinance
I don't
was.
have a problem with it.
Well, I don't think we have an
We'll
ordinance.
put it up in our yard, and, you know, anybody, we are not gonna serve the public. It'll be just,
I do know that when, I think there is something that you have to pull through, DeKalb County for a live
Well, she's
band.
a student.
no.
No,
We're not
she doesn't
having
know.
a live band here.
They're just
I'm
gonna be
bringing
there.
the band in to feed them and
Okay.
Oh,
our
okay.
board members and probably the Steuben County Sheriff's candidates and
Okay.
just, the mayor,
Chris
it'll be-
Emmerich.
Chris, go Chris. I'm on Chris's, oh, shut up.
Let me mute it.
Chris used to be one of our officers.
Chris is on my committee for this, and I wanna tell you, Chris and Ashley, his wife, have been amazing. But I don't want any trouble, like I said.
You shouldn't have any because it's actually you're having a private function on your own property, so.
Beach boys are gonna bring in and sit in the yard or in the driveway, and I'm good. Is it okay if I have cars parked down here as long as I don't block in the sheriff's
It's all
department?
parking lot out here, it's public parking.
Okay, cause there'll be 20 cars maybe, I just don't wanna block the streets.
That's our Christmas party.
We used it Saturday for.
But I wanted
so,
to ask
yeah,
you guys
no,
because I wasn't
absolutely.
for sure.
I don't
No,
think
you're fine.
I don't have a problem.
Now, they
with
didn't
the country music thing, I have a problem.
Hey,
No,
wait,
no.
now, hey,
You're
wait a
a
minute.
ski wagon kind of guy.
Wait a minute, let me tell you, it's not just country music. I work for the band out of Nashville, but we have a world-renowned saxophone player that will be playing at our fundraiser for the VIP party. I have one of the top 60s and 70s rock bands that plays first, after the VIP party when the fundraiser itself starts, and then the country western band is the one that's wrapping it up. So the country western band is coming because they're coming in from Nashville and staying with all of us, so we may rock the town.
Okay.
Actually needs a little rocking, so.
Well, the yard next to me is cleaned up before I have to rock it.
Okay.
Anything
else?
Home going to
I do
bed.
have one more thing. Wednesday, June 25th, we're gonna do a rescue task force training here with Chris Emmerich and the sheriff's department, and a bunch of other fire departments.
Yeah, we're gonna use the building.
We're gonna use the building.
I'll come.
Are you gonna be the rescue test or are you
I'll
Anything
be the
else?
dead one on the floor.
Anything else?
You guys are wonderful, thank you. I love
you, ma'am.
Ashley.
No problem.
I've been in Steuben County all my life, never thought I'd move to Ashley, Indiana. But,
Well, you could have been Steuben on that side.
That's where I live. I live in Steuben.
yeah, I've never lived, I've always lived in Steuben County. Well, I take that back. I was in DeKalb County for a while, but all my life I grew up there, and I moved to this house because it was handicap accessible, and he couldn't get it sold because of the neighbors, and I was the sucker that he sucked into it.
Okay, sounds like you're the right person.
So,
Welcome to the neighborhood.
That's exactly what he said. He said, Candy, I think you can talk about this, so.
Okay.
I
make a
just
motion.
don't, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I just don't want them to come back on me. They're wonderful people, like I said, and it's just,
Oh, we know.
they're just, well, he works for my daughter-in-law at Hudson Industries, and I work with her trying to get permits, so I'm kind of in the middle of this, but I've got dogs, and there's fleas, it's horrible, it's horrible. So, I'll get out of your hair, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. I make a motion to adjourn the town council meeting.
I second that.
I concur.
How do they do?
Oh, that's just.
Yeah, go through whatever you
That's
need out
just
there.
Sorry. Your picture stuff in there, signs all the.
Sorry about that.
He's got 'em right there.
Thank you, nice to meet you, I don't know who any of you are,
I'm
but.
Don Stuckey, and I live in DeKalb County, so.
You don't have to do it. I do too now. I'm Candy,
I'm Micah,
Micah.
Livey,
I was trying to grab.
Micah Livey.
Uh-oh, wheels are spinning.
Who's from?
My dad was Bob, Robert Livey, he passed away 22 years ago or so. Marcy Livey.
Yeah.
My mother.
Okay. Okay.
Am I in trouble?
No, okay, I'll forgive you this time.
You remember back then, you knocked
Well,
over my couch.
You'll hear, I 35 years ago, I was an ass and a drug addict and everything, and I've been down the road and had my skeletons, but,
We all did.
you know, I've turned around and been head of the Cancer Association for, I was executive director 15 years, resigned, went to work at Buck Lake, resigned from there, now I'm back with the Cancer Association, so.
Good to have you come.
I love it. I love the town, and when I walk into the bar, they say, "Oh, the mayor's here, our new mayor's here," because I gave them hell the first day. Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
Yep, you too.
Take care, people.